When most people think of a cruise, they imagine sunshine on the open sea, sparkling pools, and endless buffets overflowing with food. It's paradise. At least that's what it looks like from the outside. But beneath the polished decks and smiling service lies another world entirely. A world few passengers ever see. Below those glamorous hallways, behind the locked crew-only doors, life beats to a very different rhythm. One built on long hours, tight quarters, and a quiet professionalism that keeps everything running like clockwork. And yet, that's the magic of cruising. It feels effortless. You wake to a perfectly made bed, dine on gourmet meals, and watch sunsets that seem painted just for you. But that perfection? It's an illusion carefully maintained by thousands of hardworking people who rarely get the recognition they deserve. Today, we're pulling back the curtain. These are the secrets that ex-cruise workers say passengers were never meant to know. The hidden realities that will forever change how you see life at sea. Whether you've cruised 10 times or you're dreaming of your first voyage, this journey will open your eyes, help you appreciate the invisible work behind the magic, and make you a smarter, more confident traveler the next time you step aboard. So sit back, relax, and let's sail into the truth. One wave at a time. Secret 1. The buffet's circle of food. Let's start where every cruise story begins. The buffet. You walk in and it feels like heaven. Towers of pastries, endless trays of meat and seafood, sparkling fruit platters, and desserts so beautiful they almost look unreal. It's abundance at its finest. But here's the secret. Not everything you see is as fresh as it looks. Cruise kitchens are massive, industrial machines feeding thousands of guests 3 times a day. To make it work, chefs prepare food in enormous batches, and because nothing goes to waste at sea, yesterday's leftovers often find creative new life today. That breadbasket from dinner? It might reappear the next morning as garlic sticks or croutons. That pasta salad that didn't quite empty at lunch? It could be refreshed with new dressing and served again at dinner. Crew members even have a name for it: the circle of food. It's not unsafe. In fact, it's tightly regulated under international food safety laws. But it's far from the farm-to-table freshness most passengers imagine. One former cruise chef recalled seeing half-empty dessert trays whisked away at night, only to return the next day, sliced smaller and topped with a new garnish. No one ever noticed. So what should you do? If you value freshly cooked meals, skip the buffet once in a while. Head to the main dining room or a specialty restaurant, where every dish is cooked to order. You'll taste the difference immediately, not just in flavor, but in care. And here's a travel insight from longtime cruisers. Buffets are designed for volume, not artistry. Their goal is to feed thousands efficiently, not to showcase the chef's best work. So enjoy the variety, but know the story behind it. Because sometimes, understanding how things work makes the experience even richer. Secret 2. The cruise hidden world. Below deck. Now, while you're dining under crystal chandeliers, there's another world just below your feet. A world most passengers never imagine exists. Down there, it's not marble floors or ocean views. It's narrow corridors, fluorescent lights, and tiny cabins tucked below the waterline. That's where the crew, the bartenders, stewards, waiters, and engineers live for months at a time. Most cabins hold 2 or 3 people. There's barely room for a suitcase, and the only window is often a digital clock glowing in the dark. The bathrooms are shared, the beds are bunks, and personal space is a luxury. Yet somehow, these men and women show up every day smiling, greeting guests, folding towels into swans, and serving drinks with warmth and grace. They do it because they've built a powerful sense of community, one that only those who've lived at sea can truly understand. A former steward once said, "We work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, but we laugh together, eat together, and look out for each other. That's how we survive." So, when you see your cabin attendant late at night still cleaning rooms, or your favorite bartender remembering your drink by heart, remember, they've likely been awake since sunrise. Their smiles aren't fake. They're a kind of pride. The pride of keeping this floating city running perfectly no matter how tired they are. And here's something most passengers don't realize. The way you treat the crew makes a real difference. A kind word, learning their name, or simply saying thank you can change their day. And often your experience too. Crew members remember passengers who treat them like people, not just part of the furniture. Those are the guests who get the little extras: faster service, insider tips, maybe even a quiet recommendation about the best spot to watch sail away. Because beneath every polished service moment, there's a story of endurance, camaraderie, and invisible dedication. And once you understand that, you'll never see cruising the same way again. Secret 3. Your cabin is not truly private. When you close the door to your cabin, it feels like your own little sanctuary at sea. Peaceful, private, yours. But here's the truth. Few passengers ever realize. Your cabin isn't truly private. Every steward carries a master key, and security staff can access any room at any time if there's a concern. Maintenance teams might enter while you're at dinner to fix a light or unclog a drain you reported earlier. And because they have to turn over rooms quickly, they know your patterns. When you eat, when you leave, and when you usually come back. It's not meant to invade your privacy. It's about efficiency. Cabin stewards work on precision timing. They watch for subtle cues, a do not disturb sign, the sound of the door clicking, or even a room service tray left in the hall. They know when you're out so they can make the room perfect before you return. I once spoke with a steward who said, "I know my guests better than their own family sometimes. When they wake, when they nap, when they shower, it's part of the job." And it makes sense. That's why your bed is magically made the moment you leave, and fresh ice appears right before you need it. Still, here's what smart cruisers do. Lock away your valuables. Theft on ships is rare, but it's not impossible. Keep passports, jewelry, and extra cash in the cabin safe, not in your drawer or handbag. And if you're working on your laptop, back up your files before heading out. Treat your cabin not just as a private retreat, but also as part of a working ecosystem, one that hundreds of hands help maintain behind the scenes. Respect that space and it'll always give that comfort back to you. Secret 4. Crew parties are wilder than you think. While passengers are winding down for the night, maybe enjoying a slow jazz tune at the lounge, or heading back to their rooms after the midnight buffet. The real party is happening far below deck, deep within the ship, behind metal doors labeled crew only. There's another kind of nightlife. It's louder, freer, and far more human. Crew members have their own bars and recreation rooms, where drinks cost a fraction of passenger prices and music pulses through the walls. They laugh, dance, and celebrate life at sea in a way passengers rarely imagine. You might think, how do they have the energy after 12-hour shifts? But that's exactly why these parties matter. They're a release valve. As one former crew member said, "If we didn't have those nights, we'd break. The music keeps us sane." There are karaoke battles between departments, birthday celebrations at 2 a.m., and international food nights where everyone shares a taste of home. Filipino adobo, Indian curry, Italian pasta, all cooked in the crew mess. These moments remind them why they endure the hard days. And here's the funny part. Passengers sometimes see the after effects. That yawning waiter at breakfast probably just came off a 3 a.m. dance floor in the crew bar. The tired smile from your bartender at lunch? He might have been DJing last night's party. These off-duty hours build something priceless, unity. It's the bond that makes them work seamlessly as a team even when the seas are rough and the schedule relentless. So the next time you see a smiling face at 8 a.m., remember, that smile might have been forged just a few hours ago under strobe lights and laughter below deck. Secret 5. Not all drinks are created. Picture this. You're at the pool bar, ocean breeze on your face, ordering a premium cocktail, a top-shelf vodka martini perhaps. You expect perfection, but here's a secret insiders whisper about. Not all drinks are what they seem. During peak service hours, when the line at the bar stretches 3 people deep and bottles run dry, some bartenders have been known to refill premium bottles with the cheaper House brand to keep the flow going until restock. It doesn't happen everywhere, and it's not official policy, but when the demand is nonstop, shortcuts happen. Then there's the light pour. When bartenders are under pressure or when an all-inclusive drinks package crowd hits hard, some will pour weaker cocktails to stretch supply. Multiply that by thousands of drinks, and the cruise line saves thousands of dollars. But here's where the story turns around. Relationships matter at sea. If you tip generously early, even just $20 at the start of your trip, bartenders will remember you. They'll greet you by name, pour a little heavier, slide your drink faster, and sometimes, just sometimes, forget to add one to your tab. I once cruised with a friend who tipped his bartender on day 1. By day 2, that bartender would wave him straight to the front, pour doubles, and save him from waiting in line. That one act of kindness and respect turned an ordinary bar experience into a personal connection. Because that's how the best ships run, not on money alone, but on mutual respect between guests and crew. Tip well, smile often, and your experience will always feel just a little more magical. Secret 6. Some cabins are noisy nightmares. Every cruiser dreams of waking up to the sound of gentle waves outside their balcony, that quiet morning breeze, the clinking of coffee cups, the ocean stretching endlessly before them. But here's a truth most people only learn after their first sleepless night at sea. Not all cabins are created equal. Crew members know exactly which ones to avoid. And it's not about price, it's about location. Cabins directly above the nightclub might as well come with a built-in drumbeat. The bass vibrates through the floor long past midnight. Those right under the pool deck? You'll wake at 6 a.m. to the sound of lounge chairs scraping across metal and crew hosing down the deck. And cabins at the very front, near the anchor, might rattle like a freight train every time the ship drops anchor at dawn. I learned this the hard way. On one cruise, I had a balcony right at the bow. Breathtaking view, sure, until the anchor chain dropped one morning in Mykonos. The whole cabin shook so hard my coffee mug slid off the desk. I realized right then why the crew had smirked when I mentioned my cabin number. So here's a veteran traveler's tip. Study the deck plan before you book. Look not just at what's beside your room, but what's above and below. A quiet midship cabin, away from the pool, engines, or nightclubs, might not sound glamorous on paper, but when you're sleeping peacefully at sea, that silence feels like luxury itself. And if you're ever tempted by a last-minute upgrade to a front-facing balcony, pause and ask, what's underneath that view? Because sometimes, serenity is worth more than scenery. Secret 7. The ship never sleeps. You might think that when passengers drift off, the ship drifts off too. A floating hotel at rest under a blanket of stars. But in truth, the ship never sleeps. While guests dream, the heartbeat of the vessel continues below deck. The laundry team works overnight, washing thousands of towels, bedsheets, and uniforms. The roar of industrial dryers hums deep in the ship's belly. In the kitchen, bakers roll dough at 3 a.m. so your croissants are golden and flaky by sunrise. The engine crew rotates through shifts around the clock, monitoring systems that never stop. Even the entertainment staff often rehearse after midnight when the stages are free. Every clang in the hallway, every distant rumble you hear in the night, that's the rhythm of life behind the illusion of calm. Once, on a late-night walk along the promenade, I caught a glimpse of it. A baker pushing trays of steaming bread to the breakfast buffet area, while a housekeeper polished the handrails under the soft glow of deck lights. By morning, everything looked effortless, as if it had always been perfect. That's the secret of cruising, a 24-hour dance between the visible and invisible. So when you wake to the smell of coffee and freshly baked pastries, remember, while you were sleeping, hundreds of crew members were already at work, ensuring your new day began without a hitch. That seamless magic you feel? It's powered by people who rarely see the sunrise but make sure you do. Secret 8. Excursion. Kickbacks are real. Let's step off the ship for a moment. Literally. You've just arrived in paradise. Turquoise waters, white sand beaches, colorful markets waiting to be explored. You flip through the cruise line's glossy booklet of shore excursions, snorkeling in Belize, ziplining in Jamaica, wine tours in Italy. But here's a truth even frequent cruisers overlook. Shore excursions are big business for the ship. When you book through the cruise line, a huge slice of that fee, sometimes up to 60%, goes straight back to the cruise company, not the local operator. That $120 snorkeling trip, the local guide might see only $50. The rest is commission. It's a system known among crew as kickback culture. The cruise line guarantees reliability and safety, but also locks local businesses into low pay for exposure. That's why many crew, on their rare days off, book excursions privately. They know they'll get the same experience for half the price. But before you swear off ship-sponsored tours, here's the catch. If your private tour runs late, the ship won't wait. The captain only holds departure for official excursions, since they're tracked through the ship's manifest. So if you're traveling inland, say from Civitavecchia to Rome, or from port to a distant national park, it's often smarter to book through the cruise line. But for short trips, a quick catamaran, a beach shuttle, or a market stroll, going local can save you money and give you a more authentic taste of the destination. I once tried both in a single voyage. In Cozumel, I joined a local diving tour run by a family business. It cost half as much and ended up being one of the most personal, unforgettable experiences of the trip. Later that week in Alaska, I booked through the ship for a glacier excursion deep inland. We got stuck in traffic, but because it was an official tour, the ship waited for us. That's when I realized the golden rule: balance safety with savings. Cruise lines aren't villains for taking a cut. It's business. But understanding the system empowers you to choose wisely. Sometimes the best souvenir isn't from a ship-approved store. It's the memory you made supporting a local family whose hands built the experience from the heart. Secret 9. The crew notices everything. Here's something that might surprise you. While passengers think they're observing the ship, it's actually the crew who are observing them. From the dining room to the pool deck, crew members see far more than you imagine. Who's patient? Who's polite? Who tips? Who complains? Who's generous with kindness and who isn't? And those impressions matter more than most people realize. A dining room waiter once told me, "I can tell on the first night who's going to make my week better and who's going to make it longer." That's how closely they watch. The automatic gratuities built into your cruise fare are shared among many departments. But a small personal tip, especially early in the voyage, speaks louder than any percentage printed on your bill. It tells your crew member that you see them as a human being, not just a service number. And once that connection is made, everything changes. Your coffee arrives exactly how you like it, before you even ask. Your favorite dessert shows up at dinner with a wink. Your stateroom gets a little extra care. I once watched two couples seated side by side in the same dining room section. One couple quietly tipped on the first night, the other didn't. By the second evening, the tippers always had the best table by the window. Their meals came out perfectly timed, and they were even treated to surprise appetizers off the menu. The other couple? Perfectly fine service, but nothing special. It's not about money, it's about recognition. When passengers treat crew with genuine kindness, a smile, "How was your day?" that energy ripples through the entire voyage. The ship runs smoother when there's mutual respect between those who serve and those who sail. So, if there's one takeaway here, it's this: kindness travels faster than the ship itself. And sometimes, the smallest gesture earns you the biggest smile. Secret 10. The ship has a hidden jail. It sounds like something out of a movie, but it's real. Every cruise ship has its own jail. Crew members call it the brig. You won't find it on any deck plan, and no passenger will ever see it unless they seriously misbehave. The brig exists for a reason. When you put several thousand people in one floating city surrounded by open water, there have to be rules and consequences. If a passenger becomes violent, steals, or drinks to the point of endangering themselves or others, security quietly steps in. They're trained not to make a scene. You'll rarely notice it happening. One minute, someone's arguing at the bar. The next, they're escorted down a side corridor by uniformed staff, never to return. Inside the brig, it's not dramatic. Just a small locked room with a metal bed or bench. It's designed for containment, not punishment. The passenger stays there until the next port, where local authorities take over. Sometimes it's a few hours, sometimes it's a night. Either way, that person's vacation ends right there, and often so does their right to cruise with that line again. I remember talking to a former security officer who said, "We don't want to use the brig, but it's like a fire extinguisher. You hope you never need it, but you're glad it's there." So the next time you hear about a missing passenger who was last seen at the bar, they might not have vanished into the sea. They might simply be cooling off below deck, in the quietest room on the ship. Secret 11. Strict rules about passenger relationships. Now let's talk about one of the most whispered about secrets at sea: relationships between crew and passengers. It's easy to understand why rumors swirl. The environment is charming. Sunsets, cocktails, ocean breezes, smiles everywhere. Friendliness feels natural. But what most passengers don't know is that cruise workers live under extremely strict codes of conduct when it comes to guests. Crew-passenger relationships, romantic or even close friendships, are absolutely forbidden. If a crew member is caught getting too personal, the result is immediate dismissal. No warnings, no second chances. In some cases, they're blacklisted from working in the cruise industry again. That might sound harsh, but think about the stakes. A cruise ship is both a workplace and a home for thousands of employees. Professional boundaries keep everything running smoothly and safely. One blurred line could lead to gossip, favoritism, or even security risks. Things cruise lines cannot afford. Still, as any seasoned sailor will tell you, human nature doesn't always follow the rulebook. There are quiet stories. A steward slipping a note to a passenger, a barista meeting someone in port, a friendship that turned into something more. But those are rare, risky exceptions. For most crew, every smile, every laugh, every kind word has to stay within professional lines. As one bartender put it, we can be your friend for the week, but only inside the ship's code. So when you notice that your favorite bartender remembers your drink or your steward greets you warmly every morning, it's not flirting, it's professionalism. A practiced balance between warmth and distance that takes years to perfect. Behind that smile is a person walking a tightrope, trying to make your experience personal without crossing the invisible line that could end their career. Secret 12. Disembarkation Day is controlled chaos. To passengers, the last morning of a cruise often feels stressful enough. Packing luggage, finding your assigned group, waiting for your color tag to be called. But what happens below deck on Disembarkation Day makes passenger stress look like a walk in the park. For the crew, it's the busiest, most chaotic day of the week. Hundreds of cabins must be stripped, sanitized, and reset in just a few hours. Bed sheets are hauled by the ton to laundry. Bathrooms are scrubbed spotless. Carpets vacuumed. Minibars restocked. Meanwhile, supplies for the next voyage, everything from vegetables to vacuum cleaners, are being loaded on board. And here's the twist. Many of these same crew members were working until 1 or 2 a.m. the night before, running entertainment shows or late-night buffets. They barely sleep before starting again at dawn. One cabin steward once told me, "Imagine finishing a marathon, then being told to run another one right away. That's turnaround day." And yet, by the time new guests board that afternoon, the ship gleams like new. Polished brass, folded towels, everything perfect, as if the previous week never happened. That's the quiet miracle of cruising. Beneath the illusion of effortless luxury lies a massive, synchronized sprint that happens every single week. So the next time you walk into your spotless cabin at embarkation, take a moment to appreciate the invisible army who made it happen, running on little sleep and a lot of pride. Secret 13. The ship's invisible cities. What passengers see is only half the ship. The other half, the one hidden below Deck 4, is like an entire secret city, complete with its own systems, routines, and infrastructure. There are recycling centers sorting tons of waste by hand to meet environmental standards stricter than most cities on land. There are workshops where engineers fix everything from air conditioners to espresso machines. There's even a small medical center, complete with doctors, nurses, and emergency rooms, ready for anything from seasickness to surgery. Some megaships even have a tiny jail and a crew chapel, where seafarers gather on Sundays to pray before another long week. It's a world built on precision. Everything has a place, every process a rhythm. The crew eat in their own dining halls called the crew mess, shop at their own mini-market, even get haircuts at a shipboard salon tucked deep below the guest decks. When you walk through the glittering atrium above, you'd never guess that just a few floors beneath, thousands of crew are living an entire parallel life. Working, laughing, celebrating birthdays, calling home, and carving out moments of normalcy in a floating metal world. I once joined a behind-the-scenes tour that revealed it all. The endless corridors known as I-95, the heartbeat highway of every ship. There, forklifts zipped by, workers rolled trolleys of clean linens, and chefs hustled with trays of fresh fruit up to the buffets above. It was like standing in the underground city that powers the dream. Knowing this doesn't spoil the magic, it deepens it. Because luxury isn't about perfection that happens by chance. It's about thousands of unseen hands working in harmony to make it look effortless. Secret 14 cameras and data are everywhere. If you think the crew's eyes are the only ones watching, think again. Modern cruise ships are digital marvels, equipped with more cameras and sensors than many airports. And it's not just for security. It's about efficiency, safety, and even your comfort. Facial recognition now speeds up check-in and boarding. Thermal scanners monitor for fevers before anyone steps on board. Smart cameras quietly track passenger flow, helping staff prevent overcrowding in restaurants or redirect lines before they even form. In the kitchen, sensors monitor food temperatures. In the engine room, computers predict mechanical issues before they happen. Even the lighting adjusts automatically as the ship moves between time zones, syncing your body clock to the rhythm of the voyage. But yes, there's also surveillance. Public areas, corridors, and even elevator lobbies are monitored 24/7, not to spy on guests, but to ensure safety. If someone falls, gets lost, or behaves suspiciously, security can replay footage in seconds. And here's something few realize. Ships collect huge amounts of data. What drinks sell best? Which buffet stations run out first? Where passengers linger longest? All that information helps refine the next voyage, making every cruise smoother, more profitable, and more personalized. It's not Big Brother at sea. It's more like an orchestra conductor, keeping every part of the ship in tune. So while privacy at sea is limited, the trade-off is peace of mind. In a world where one small mistake could become a major emergency, that invisible web of technology keeps every heartbeat of the ship connected, coordinated, and safe. Secret 15. The crew's real dream. After hearing all these secrets, you might imagine that life at sea is just endless work and exhaustion. A world of narrow bunks, late nights, and silent sacrifices. But talk to any seasoned crew member and you'll hear something remarkable. Despite all the hardship, they wouldn't trade it for anything. For many, working on a cruise ship isn't just a job. It's a life-changing journey. They come from over 60 different countries, speaking dozens of languages. Yet they learn to function as one team, like the gears of a vast human machine that never stops turning. They've seen the world from angles most travelers never will. Sunrises over the fjords of Norway, rainbows arching across the Caribbean, dolphins racing alongside the bow at dawn. They've learned to adapt, to solve problems in the middle of the ocean with no backup but each other. And they've built friendships that stretch across continents, forged through laughter, sweat, and the occasional storm. One former cruise worker told me, "I started working at sea because I needed a paycheck, but I stayed because the ocean taught me who I am." That's the hidden beauty of cruise life. It pushes people beyond their limits and shows them what they're capable of. And here's the part that surprises many passengers. For all the long hours and invisible labor, most crew members find deep pride in what they do. They see themselves as keepers of the dream, the ones who make magic happen for others. Every spotless cabin, every warm meal, every perfect sunset is their silent masterpiece. So when you thank your steward, or smile at your waiter, or take a moment to notice the person polishing railings at midnight, remember that you're seeing more than an employee. You're seeing a dreamer, a traveler, a citizen of the sea who chose this life not because it's easy, but because it's extraordinary. Cruising, like life itself, is a blend of illusion and effort, of beauty on the surface and dedication beneath. Now that you've seen behind the curtain, perhaps the next time you sail, you'll see your journey differently. When you walk into a gleaming atrium, you'll know there's an entire team cleaning it through the night. When you bite into a perfect dessert, you'll remember the chef who remade it from scratch after 3 shifts. When you lie in your crisp white sheets, you'll think of the steward who made that bed with tired but proud hands. Because luxury isn't about perfection, it's about people. People who give their energy, their patience, and their smiles so that others can relax, celebrate, and escape from the noise of everyday life. So, as you plan your next voyage, carry this knowledge with you. Every cruise is built not only on steel and technology, but on heart. An invisible network of humanity that keeps the dream alive, wave after wave. And maybe that's the greatest secret of all. Behind every glittering ship, there's a heartbeat, thousands of them, working together so you can stand on deck, watching the horizon, feeling free. If this story opened your eyes, share it with a fellow traveler. And remember, the more you understand the world behind the smiles, the more meaningful every journey becomes. Because once you've seen what truly happens below deck, you'll never cruise blindly again.